And his focus was more on moving people through the corridor, not vehicles. So when we started off with this project, we took a step back and we said, okay, well, who's using the corridor? And what we saw right away is that actually over half people using the corridor are pedestrians. This is downtown Chicago. And about the other 44% of vehicles. Now those 44% of vehicles, about half of those people are on buses. And you can see cars and taxis take up the other. But when you look at how the road space is allocated currently, it's only about 4% for buses. So there's a little bit of a mismatch there to the demand and who's actually getting to use the roadway and who could potentially use the roadway. The other thing about being our highest ridership east-west corridor through downtown, the corridor was also one of the slowest. The buses would travel about 3 to 5 miles an hour in peak. That's a treadmill going very, very slow. So I just want to, as far as comparison goes. You could walk faster through the corridor, and a lot of people did. A lot of people take taxis. So this is a great opportunity for us to speed that corridor. And so the approach was, to take this east-west corridor, let's see, on Washington and Madison here, and provide it with new bus stations, not necessarily new stations that are utilizing the sidewalk, but I'll show that in a second. That would speed boarding, allow for level boarding, and potentially be upgraded for proof of payment. It connects to Ogilvy Transportation Center and Union Station, which are the two main rail hubs for Metro, the commuter rail. Also, there's a new transit center just to the south that we'll be building. That'll be able to basically triple our capacity for buses laying over in the central area around Union Station over there. Dedicated lanes on Canal and Clinton as well to get the buses through there. As you can see, I mentioned that's the city of Chicago on the bottom right here. And you can see those buses come from all over the city. So, hey, it's a downtown project to get to circulate commuter rails, but it's also a project to speed up the slowest 2 miles of all those neighborhood routes as well. So here's Washington Street. The last thing too, this is also a bike project as well. So bike lanes were a big part of this, and we really like this design because it actually separates all the modes, separates the bikers. There's no natural conflict with the bikers and the buses. You have a new platform that separates the people waiting for the bus, the transit customers, for the people that are going through the sidewalk and going into shops and businesses. It creates 11 feet wide new platform with new pedestrian space. And you can see it makes the street much more manageable as well. Not all these different uses are competing for the same space anymore. And this is Madison. Madison doesn't have it's a little bit more narrow than Washington. And then actually there's going to be a new dedicated bike lane on Randolph, which is a block over, but this is the same setup. Again, level boarding, these platforms are long enough to accommodate 2 60-foot articulated buses, so a lot of capacity at these stations. I want to just touch on this. This is not one of the projects I worked on in the past 10 years, but it's happening in the region. It's very exciting that a partnership between the RTA, PACE, and IDOT produced the first bus on shoulder lanes and to an area that kind of fills the gap between 2 commuter rail lines. I know that I'm aware that you have it here in Wake County, and so, but it's a big step for that for this agency and regional mobility as well. But just something we're also doing in the Chicago area. The last project, Ashland. Ashland is probably our most ambitious effort at BRT to date here. The project stemmed from decades worth of study of how to move people in this north-south corridor on west of the loop. You're about a mile west of the central business district in this area, but there's a tremendous amount of population and employment density. There's 230,000 people, 130,000 jobs within walking distance of this corridor. It contains the Illinois Medical District, which is one of the largest urban medical districts in the U.S., and various industrial corridors that bisect the corridor throughout. And basically the whole corridor is very high density. You have a lot of pre-war neighborhoods, a lot of multi-family buildings throughout the corridor. It's currently our highest bus ridership route, and also one of our slowest at 8.7 miles an hour in peak. In addition, the other thing that makes this quality corridor is that it's actually wide enough to construct a major BRT project. It's 70 feet from curb to curb, which allows for us to do things, I guess, a little more high level scale than compared to the Jeffrey Jump. The other thing about the project too is that it goes through a lot of neighborhoods already with very high transit mode. You can see a lot of these areas here have 30, 40, 50% of the people that are already commuting by transit. So people already moved these neighborhoods to be in a good transit-rich area, and so we thought this was a great candidate for that project. In comparison, though, and then the other end, why this makes it a great corridor is that transit continues to be one of the highest travel time for customers in these areas. As you can see here, indicated by the red on the transit there. So compared with every other mode, whether you're walking, driving, or biking, transit continues to be one of the slowest here in a lot of those neighborhoods. With the project, we'd save the average customer, which is about a 2.3-mile trip that the customers will take today. Even without the increase in speed and attracting new customers, the average customer today save about 65 hours a year, which is not inconsequential. In addition to that, the reliability will be huge, especially for if you're a shift worker, you work at the hospital, you have to be there at a certain time. You don't have to calculate that additional time because of the variability of reliability for the service. Here's a couple things, just so you can see how dramatic it is. I mean, a customer today taking Ashland from the Beverly neighborhood at 95th Street on the far south side of the corridor, if they took the Ashland bus, and trust me, very little people take this trip because it's a 71-minute commute. But with BRT, it makes it into more of a sizable commute. Ashland, as it's currently designed today, these numbers are taken within one block on either side of Ashland. It's an auto-oriented, not a very safe street. It represents actually about 2 to 3% of the crashes in the city of Chicago, depending on which mode you're on or which mode you're using. So it's another thing that we want to look at, how can we can increase safety. We also know, as we've seen with Cleveland, that BRT helps neighborhood businesses, and if we increase the capacity along Ashland, we can carry more people throughout. Ashland is expected to add about 2,000 people per year for years out, as we can see. And right now, there's a lot of areas that are congested. There's some areas that aren't congested, but over time, if we don't do this improvement, nobody's going to move on this corridor. So it's important for us to look at this corridor and how we can do that. It also increased foot traffic by adding new visitors and customers to businesses, and a pedestrian-focused design can build on the BRT improvements, and we could leverage that last mile. Divvy, the bike shares just launched in Chicago over the last year, and so a lot of those last mile connections are already made, and so this is kind of teed up really nice for this project. I just show this to show that we did a ton of outreach, and we're still doing a ton of outreach on this project. We don't take it for granted. We met with business organizations throughout the corridor. Now I'll go into a video here. Is that queued up? I'll let the expert handle it.
Chicago is a world-class city, and as such deserves a world-class transportation system. We need to make sure that we're constantly building upon what we have. And around the world, you see bus rapid transit as a new, fast, high-quality, low-cost way to give people rail-quality transit on the street.
Ashland is the right corridor for BRT. State-of-the-art BRT on Ashland is going to provide tremendous travel enhancements to that corridor. Ashland is already our busiest bus route, with 10 million boardings in 2012, more than 30,000 people each weekday. This route will connect with 7 CTA train stations, 2 metro stations, and 37 bus routes. It also connects people to jobs, schools, and popular destinations. 1 in 10 Chicagoans live within walking distance of the corridor. With BRT service on Ashland, 1 travel lane in each direction will be dedicated to the BRT service. Buses will be running down the center of the road with planted medians and almost all of the parking kept along the curbside for local businesses. Transit signal priority technology will communicate with approaching buses to hold the green light a little longer to keep buses and general traffic moving.
The current bus system is slow, it gets stuck in traffic, and it really takes a long time for passengers to get on and to get off, and those are sort of issues that will just go away with bus rapid transit.
While BRT will provide faster service stopping at every half mile, CTA will still offer the local bus service, stopping at every block for shorter commutes and neighborhood access.
Bus rapid transit has the potential to transform the Ashland corridor. The iconic stations are accessible, boarding times are faster.
We're going to be able to count on it because it won't be stopping and it won't be irregular. And it should be easy to get on and off because it's flat boarding. We won't have to go up and down all those steps. So if you have a nap, you can stay asleep in your stroller. You like that idea? Okay.
BRT is reliable, and we need that kind of service here in the Illinois Medical District. 20,000 people that work in the Illinois Medical District, and another 50,000 that are coming in seeking access to medical care. BRT is reliable and gets people there on time.
The goal here is to see economic development come to the corridors as a result of this project, much like it does when you build a new CTA station.
Bring more people to the station, bring more people to our local neighborhood to support small businesses.
So anytime you take on a project like this, there's got to be some give and take. You have about 70 feet of right-of-way. You have different uses for that right-of-way. You have people driving, you have people walking, you have people biking, you have people taking the bus, you have people parking. A lot of times I feel that our job is to balance the needs of all the users of that right-of-way. And in this case, what we're trying to do is come up with a solution that really caters to businesses and residents alike. I think what you'll see with the solution that we in CTA are proposing, that we found a way to do that, preserve as much parking as possible, and also move as many people as possible. This project has to work for you. And so I'm very excited about the amount of public input and the process that we've gone through. And we're still going through, and we really, really want you to come out, give us your input, let us know what's important to you.
BRT is fast.
BRT is reliable.
And BRT is easy. Is that going to be fun?
So there was one of our promotional videos actually that we worked with a couple of our partners on. So pretty effective, and you can see a lot of that branding still carried over from the jump into that. So it's part of a major initiative. But I just want to point out a couple of things. This connects, we have a hub and spokes rail system throughout, providing what we call like the high-speed, high-quality network. This would connect a lot of those routes and actually provide something other than a local bus once you get west of the red line. Here's the red line. It's the CTA's highest ridership rail line. And it does a good job of getting people north-south and through the city. But once you get west of the red line, you don't have a high-speed option. You just have local buses. So you're kind of choking or thwarting any of that potential development that could triangulate on the current rail lines. We identified a phase one for this that goes between Cortland and 31st Street. It's about 6 miles. That would we would, when I mentioned feasibility before, this is what I mean. You know, we would actually be able to run buses with doors on both sides that would still be able to serve the Beverly area going through Inglewood, and then it would get in the BRT lane here, and so you'd still have the speed increases in this area, even if you lived outside the neighborhood. So you connected through there. So it does allow for it to be phased. It'd be about a $160 million project overall, about $10 million a mile. That phase one being about $6 million. It doesn't include the cost of fleet. CTA regularly makes fleet purchases. We have about 1,600 buses in the fleet currently, and so if an average bus life is 10 to 12 years, we replace on average 150, 200 buses every year, and so that would just be rolled into the fleet. If you want to put numbers to it, these are the calculated results. It would create a railway customer experience, 83% increase in bus speed, from what currently is a peak speed of 8.7 miles an hour to about 15.9 miles an hour. Be about 50% more reliable or akin to rail also. And it'd also be about a 29% increase in ridership, and we think that number is probably very conservative actually. We ran a few different models, and that was actually the most conservative one that came out. The impacts, in order to do this, we'd have to remove about 10% of the parking to make room for the stations in the middle, but retaining about 90% of the parking. We know where every paid parking spot, unpaid parking spot, every loading zone is. We also understand the utilization of that also. It was very important to do that and understand what we know is his current usage of those before going through the process. It requires removal of travel lane. This is the biggest impact here. As I mentioned, this is us running, and this is the biggest impact. And we take that very seriously as well. We did thousands of hours of analysis. We did counts in 2013 on this corridor, adjacent corridors, to ensure that we had a good understanding of what was going to happen to that traffic, that it wasn't going to go on the side streets, it was going to use parallel arterials. We used 2 different consulting firms looking at this in coordination with CDOT and IDOT. Our preliminary results show it's going to be an impact, not a major impact, about 1 to 3 miles an hour in reduction in travel speed. As I showed the Chicago grid before, the nice thing is that there are parallel routes throughout the city of Chicago. It's one of the things we're blessed with there. Right now, the plan requires removal of all left-hand turns except for access to the highways. It's something we're going to continue looking at that. It's something that we said we're going to work with the community on as we go through the process. But this is what we brought through our NEPA process. I just want to show a couple last